Hi, this is Lauren Taylor, and I'm so excited to be back on the Scrapbook.com YouTube channel to share with you some birthday card inspiration. I'm using lots of Scrapbook.com exclusives to create a card that is perfect for any person, any age. It's just going to be a lot of mixed media fun and some balloons, which who doesn't love balloons? I'm starting off with some watercolor cardstock and I'm trimming it down to be slightly smaller than an A2 size with my Tim Holtz Decal torn edge trimmer. So I would say it's about 4 by 5 1/4. And we're going to be doing some ink squishing. So I grabbed two colors of Distress Oxides. I have Twisted Citron and Uncharted Mariner. And I'm just using my grip mat to add some ink and my Distress sprayer to add some water to those inks. And we're just going to go ahead and just splatter that card right onto our grip mat and in between layers, so I have a nice coverage here, I'm going to be using my heat gun to dry this cardstock. Once it's dry, we're going to add a second layer of ink. So again, just squishing it right onto my grip mat and picking up that color. I'm trying to pick up blue where it was mostly green, green where it was mostly blue, and I'm going to go ahead and dry this layer. Now, as I'm drying, I'm trying to pick up more color, and I also am working to pick up ink anywhere I see on the edges or corners where it's still that white watercolor cardstock, so that way my whole entire background is nice and covered. Once I am happy with my background, I'm just going to clean up my grip mat real quick using my water and a paper towel, and we're going to move on to stenciling. So I have here the Mod Asterisk stencil. It's a 6x8 stencil, and I'm just using some mint tape to keep that stencil in place, but my grip mat is going to keep my paper in place as well as my ink pad. And I'm using a dome foam blender to add in some of that Uncharted Mariner in a few different spots onto my background. Once I'm happy with the color, I just wipe off my stencil, and now I'm going to do the mixed media part, which is grabbing some of my Cloud Whip. I just used a spatula that has been very wonderfully used and has all kinds of stains all over it, but I do clean it every time, so I have some nice clean white Cloud Whip, and I added some Twisted Citron to my grip mat, and I'm just going to go ahead and combine that together. So I have some really pretty kind of pale bright green Cloud Whip. So I can use this to fill in my remaining asterisks. So I have my blue ones, and now I'm going to have these mixed media ones with some dimension and just really bright on top of my ink splattered and squished background. So here you can see how this background is turning out. I'm going to set it aside to dry, clean off everything so that way I don't have Cloud Whip everywhere. So now let's move over into die cutting. I'm going to grab floral and cools, and I think that these match my green and blue background really well. Of course, you can use any color combination. This is really easy just to replace the colors I've used today with your favorite colors. I'm going to die cut the second smallest balloon. This is a nested stitched balloons from Scrapbook.com, and I'm going to cut out 3 balloons using my spell binders and magic mat together. I will end up later cutting out 1 more balloon, but right now I'm just doing 3 because I think that's all I'm going to need. So I have 2 teal balloons and 1 green balloon, and that will finish off my balloon die cutting. So I'll go ahead and put my little balloon away because I don't want it to get lost. And then we're going to move over into stamping. So I have the Party Animal stamp set. Absolutely love these balloons and birthday sentiments. That giant Happy Bee Day is one of my favorites. But I'm going to pull out the balloons, the confetti that fits inside the balloon, as well as the yay sentiment. And I'm going to do a little bit of stamping and embossing. So I grabbed out some vellum as well as some Nina Solar White cardstock to do my stamping. This is the new Black Misty, and I'm going to start with the vellum. So I'm going to put my vellum onto my mat here on the Misty, and then I'm going to grab some embossing ink and embossing powder in gold from Brutus Monroe. I'm going to stamp 2 balloons. So I have the outline of my balloon as well as some confetti on the inside. I don't know if you've ever seen those really big, beautiful, transparent balloons with different color confetti inside. I think it's so pretty. So I wanted to recreate that look onto vellum. So I first applied anti-static powder so I don't get embossing powder everywhere. And I'm going to stamp 2 balloons. So I have the balloon first with the outline, and then I moved my vellum up so I can stamp that balloon again. But before I do that, I will add the stamp set with the fun confetti. This is the first time I've used this stamp, so it is a little sticky on my fingers, but when I finally get it in place, I'll pick it up with the Misty Door and then stamp again in that embossing ink from British Monroe. Once both balloons are stamped and they both have confetti inside, I'm going to grab my gilded embossing powder, which is a gold metallic embossing powder from British Monroe. I have a little coffee filter here, and I'm just going to pour that embossing powder over my balloons. And while I pick up the powder, put it back inside the container, I warmed up my heat gun and I will melt down that embossing powder. So here you can see how easy it was to emboss on Scrapbook.com's vellum, and I'm going to use my little scissors here to fussy cut around the balloons. The best way to fussy cut is to keep your scissors in place, and you're just going to move your paper with your other hand, your non-dominant hand. So that way you get some nice clean fussy cutting, a nice bubble cut around your image. Here is that really pretty balloon. I absolutely love it. So let me cut out the second one, and then we're going to move on to stamping with regular ink. So I have my white cardstock, and I'm stamping my balloon out of some Twilight VersaFine clear ink. And then I'm going to stamp my little yay sentiment on the inside of that balloon. I will also stamp a few of the balloon strings. I do 6 total. Like I said, I will end up stamping one more balloon out or die cutting one more balloon out. So I will stamp another string, but that comes later. I fussy cut all of those strings out off camera, and now we're going to start putting together our card. So I'm grabbing the third largest of my nested dies in the A2 rectangles because I'm going to add a layer of green cardstock behind my mixed media watercolor background that we did earlier in the video. And I am a little stingy when it comes to my cardstock, so I'm just going to add this smaller rectangle. This is smaller than my background that I made, and that way I can save that center piece for another card. Since it would all be covered up anyway, I just want to add a frame of my cardstock to the background. I'm using my permanent tape runner to add some adhesive around all 4 sides of that green cardstock, and I'm going to add it to a top folding A2 size card cut out of Nina's Solar White Ultra Thick cardstock. I absolutely love top folding A2 cards. I think they sit on mantles and bookshelves better, so they will be displayed as long as your card receiver displays it. So then I added some more adhesive to my background or to my card base so I can adhere down my background now that it is nice and dry. I'm absolutely loving this fun bright color combo. So now I'm going to play around with my balloons. I have my die cut balloons, I have my gold embossed balloon, I have my sentiment balloon, lots of balloons. And I'm going to start with adhering the string to one of my balloons. So I'm gluing it to the back side of my balloon die cut. And I have a few balloons that I'm going to adhere directly to my card background. So I went ahead and grabbed my Smart Craft glue and I adhered my string to my balloon, and I'm adhering my balloon directly to my background. And I'm going to repeat this with my vellum balloons as well, so I didn't want to have to worry about hiding adhesive on the back side of my balloon. So I added that wet glue, and I'm just using my finger to kind of tap it down so it's not so bright and squished when I glue it to the background. It's very hard to see the glue, which is great. So I added that balloon, and now I'm gluing down its string, and like I said, I will repeat that process with the other vellum balloon. Now the rest of my balloons, I want to use some foam adhesive, so I grab my 1/4 inch roll and I'm just using my scissors to trim down pieces that will fit to the back side of my balloon. So I have my green balloon here, and I will repeat that with my other teal balloon as well as my yay sentiment balloon. So again, I have foam adhesive behind the balloon, but I'm going to be using some craft glue to adhere the string. So just like I did the other ones, tucking it behind my die cut image or behind my stamped balloon, and then gluing that to the card base. I'm also making sure to add adhesive to the back side of the string so that they adhere to the background. I don't have to worry about them lifting and getting torn or ripped when putting it in or out of the envelope. Once I have all 6 of my balloons attached, I knew I needed one more. I like things in odd numbers, and I had a hard time just fitting 6 in a nice little bundle, so I knew I needed that 7th balloon. So I die cut another one out of green cardstock, and I stamped and cut out its string and added it just like I did the rest with foam adhesive. Now, I wanted to add a little bit of sparkle, not too much because I know not everybody loves sparkle on their cards. So I'm just adding a few finishing touches with some pops of color in a teal and champagne gold to match that embossing powder. Here is a final look at my Yay Balloon birthday card. I hope you found inspiration in today's video and that you have a lot of fun this week seeing all of the fun birthday cards.